on bringing back the Mexican pizza. We could have went and got a musician, an artist, an athlete, but because Doja tweeted it, it was really authentic on how we wanted to do it.
And Sean, can you just give me like what's the 30 to 60 second version of your career leading into Taco Bell?
I've been fortunate to work with some great brands and great companies throughout my career, whether it was Pepsi, whether it was Time Inc. with Sports Illustrated, Nike, and now Taco Bell. I feel like that collective experience of working at great companies that had great brands really helped my experience into my next role as the CEO.
Sean, we are talking because Taco Bell is number one for the fourth year in a row on our Franchise 500 list. And I wanted to start our conversation with a kind of philosophical question for a new CEO, which is you are stepping into lead a brand that is hot. It is undeniably hot. It is successful by pretty much every measure you measure a brand. Is it easier, do you think, to walk into a brand where the expectations are so high as the new leader, or to walk into a brand where maybe there was some more low-hanging fruit around and a turnaround story that could be told? Obviously, you have the role that you have, but I'm curious how you think of it as you step into this new role as CEO.
I don't think it's easier to walk into a hot brand because, my job and our job as the Taco Bell team is to keep this brand hot. You can go back not only for the 4 years, and that's an incredible accomplishment, being, a back-to-back winner of the award, but take it back 62 years. This has been an incredible brand for 4 years with Entrepreneur Magazine, but for 62 years, it's been a hot brand that zigged when others were zagging. It was courageous. It was different. It led from the front. And my mantle coming in as CEO will be to continue that.
As someone who tells brand stories, and I, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about Jordan. I mean, the name, the identity of Michael Jordan was right there in everything that you did with Jordan Brand. I think that there are probably a lot of people, more people than not, that didn't know that the word bell in Taco Bell actually references a human being. They probably just think it's a bell. But tell me about that instinct that you have developed to go to the brand origin story and make that a meaningful part of how people understand a brand.
As early as probably 10 months ago, as we're thinking about the brand and the vision and how we take it forward, all great brands, as you mentioned, have a really interesting origin story that is not origin story for origin, but it defines who they are. Mm-hmm. You mentioned Phil Knight selling sneakers out of the back of the VW bus. You look at Jordan, who was a logo that was in flight. That brand is about flight. Glenn Bell in 1962 embraced the idea of difference, not difference for difference sake, but different to try something new and be a little left of center. And we wear that with a pride. If you look at kind of the decades of Taco Bell, we haven't been afraid to lean into being different. We haven't been afraid to be courageous. And today we still do that. And it's really kind of, we'll call it the filter of what we put our brand through, not only marketing through, but our total brand through is let's be courageous. Let's not be afraid to be different. But it does stem from 1962, Glenn Bell having this vision to be different in a world that was maybe Mexican food in 1962 versus who we are today, very much interrelated and linked.
But if I were to ask you to kind of give that same answer, but take your Taco Bell CEO hat off and just put on your marketing professor hat, right? And, if we're talking to a room full of entrepreneurs who are trying to understand how to meaningfully tell the story of their brand, there's something that you have learned over the years about how to tell that origin story and how to connect that origin story to now, right? I think it's not an accident that the way you tell the origin story of Taco Bell, even the way that you weave it into conversation here, is about this independence, this standing out from a crowd, which is exactly the customer that you target at Taco Bell, right? You came up with that psychographic of the cultural rebel. So there's a very intentional connection that you're drawing here, and I would just love to hear you, not necessarily as the leader of Taco Bell, but just as someone who really understands brand marketing, talk about how how to smartly use that origin story?
So there's four marketing philosophies that are kind of our go-to.
Hmm.
Two of them apply if I'm sitting in a room with marketing people or people like how do you dimensionalize a story. The two I'll use to help dimensionalize the story of why the origin story is so powerful is one, this idea of math and magic is one marketing philosophy. So how do you take all the math that is available today and turn it into magic? And that's one thing I think we're doing very well today. We are a data-heavy business, as you know, but how do you take that data and turn it into something special for the brand? The other one is we have the saying here, which I think Taco Bell does better than any other brand, is hit people in the head and hit them in the heart. Hit people in the head is like what's your pricing, what's your operations, when you think about how you go to market, all very important things, but none of that matters if you can't hit people in your heart. You make people feel the brand, make people love the brand. And what is different than most brands out there that what Taco Bell has is people have an incredible love for the brand is because when we talk about the brand, we have to be smart and operational and all the right pricing, the right menu, but we also have to do is make people feel the brand, make people love the brand. And those are probably the two things I'd say that we, if you had to break it down, that we think about every day what difference is this brand than other brands out there.
Can you give me a real world example of what it means to take a piece of data and turn it into magic?
One example that I'll give is we have a lot of data from our restaurants and from our social channels is that people talk a lot about, whenever we post something about the brand, people talk a lot about menu items of the past. Enchilada or quesalupa comes up and people, the threads just go crazy. I remember when my mom took me, I remember how it tasted. I used to get it with tomatoes. There'd be a lot of data. So we took all that data that how people love the Taco Bell items of the past, and we turned that into voting. So last year we started vote on 2 items and the consumer decides. And that's, I think, a really good example of turning some data that we didn't maybe quite know what to do with it. We knew that people love to talk about their favorite Taco Bell item of today, but also of the past. How do we turn that into something, an experience for the consumers where they can vote on 2 things from the past and we'll actually bring something back on the menu?
How do you systematize it? How do you productize it? How do you create something that delivers for people the thing that they're clearly carrying around and maybe not articulating that they want, but obviously they do?
Yeah, I think if you take those pieces, I think one thing that helps the organization get to the magic quickly is in Mark's time here, he had a platform or a filter of this idea of restlessly creative. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter what function you're in. It's not only reserved for the marketeers, but whether you're in ops, finance, HR, sales, this idea of being restlessly creative was a filter that permeates the organization. And so when you have some anecdotes and you to your point, you have the data, the quantitative data that says when we do this on social networks, it pops. The mindset or the culture of being restless creative is what if we put those 2 things together in and let the consumer decide what we bring back. Now, think about that. That sounds easy from me saying it or from the marketer saying it, but now you got to go supply chain. How available is our ingredients? You got to go to operations. How do we make it on the line? What else is happening during that experience? Where does it make it really hard on the team member? How do you price it? All those things have to come together. So it's not as easy as let's bring these 2 things back. But now you got to bring the organization along too, is like, this is why this is a good thing for the consumer, for the business, for the franchisee. But what strings it all together is this idea of we wouldn't be able to do it if it was just a marketing idea. But since people have the DNA or the filter of being restlessly creative, it all comes together.
We all know, because it's been well documented, the return of the Mexican pizza and the way that happened. There was, people were tweeting about it, but then Doja Cat tweeted about it. And you guys brought Doja Cat in to reintroduce this. I would love to hear from you more granularly about how to build a team where that can happen. Because as I think about that story, I just think a lot of things had to happen. Somebody had to notice the tweet. Somebody had to feel empowered to say, you know, there's more that we can do here than just like reply in a funny way from Taco Bell's handle. And then it had to move steps up the chain. It had to do that thing that we were describing earlier, where there was the restless creativity and so many different parts of an organization had to say, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can make this bigger. Yeah, we can get. So can you talk to me about what it means to build a team? And I mean, maybe even like just on the real granular level, like what is the first thing that someone on your team can or should do when they see a Doja Cat tweet like that? Who do they talk to? Do you have some process by which it gets escalated so that it can become a bigger idea? Like what actually happens to make that thing happen?
Well, you mentioned a lot of things that like go up the chain, the processes, but it all, the one thing, probably the most important thing for that to happen is the idea or the process of what's the filter. Mm-hmm. And so our filter for no matter what it is authenticity. So how that happened. Now, let me give you just a little bit, go backwards, go forward. During
Sure.
COVID, we took Mexican pizza off the menu. We took it off the menu because it wasn't selling highly. It was a little complex to make. And as everybody did in COVID, we had to make some tough decisions. So we made the decision to take Mexican pizza off the menu. As COVID's going on and things are happening and as it's starting to end, Doja Cat tweets, bring the Mexican pizza back. Now, that's authentic. It wasn't us reaching out to Doja because as we were thinking about things to do, we could have partnered with many other people. But there was something authentic because Doja Cat loves the Mexican pizza. It's authentic. It's real. She tweeted. We didn't pay her to tweet. It was a real thing. And then to your point, that's where this restless creatively kicks in. That's where the Glenn Bell 1962 DNA kicks in. What should we do with this? Well, she wants the Mexican pizza. What if we brought it back? And then there's a whole bunch of ideas on how to bring it back. The long and short of it is, no matter if it's the thing behind me, which was a collab with Born and Raised, no matter if it was LeBron James helping to liberate the trademark of Taco Tuesday, whether it was Doja Cat bringing the Mexican pizza back, it all stems from us trying to be an authentic brand and authentic to who we are and what we're trying to do. And could we go get somebody else to do a collab besides Born and Raised? There's a story behind it and why we chose them. Could we have got anybody to help us liberate Taco Tuesday? We could have, but there's a story of why LeBron was the right person. And then again, on bringing back the Mexican pizza, we could have went and got a musician, an artist, an athlete, but because Doja tweeted it, it was really authentic on how we wanted to do it.
One thing, as you're describing that, I'm thinking you have to make room for, if you want to be responsive to authentic moments, is you have to make room to scramble things up and to do it on the fly. I would imagine that before Doja Cat tweeted, bring back the Mexican pizza, you all were not sitting around saying, we have no ideas on what to do next. We have no roadmap. We're just going to hope somebody tweets something, right? Like you had some plan and that plan had to be put on hold or that plan had to share some space with this new plan. Talk to me about how you create that space for that kind of reactivity.
Yeah, I talked about the marketing philosophies. One of them is be nimble. And as the world changes, as the consumer changes, as macros change, technology changes, our philosophy is we got to be nimble. To your point, right now, today, we have drawn up 2024. As you know, stuff will change. Things will change. Macros will change. Something will happen in culture that, hey, that would be cool if we did that. So this idea of course, we've got to have a 2024 plan, but the idea of being nimble, I think, is more important ever today because the world moves at a fast pace, and we need to keep pace with that fast pace.
And so you have like a plan, but then you also have a plan to abandon the plan.
Yeah, we have a plan, and when something cool in culture happens, if you're going to be a brand of culture, you got to be nimble and be ready to capitalize on the moment.
Well, Sean, I'm glad you said yes to this. It was super enlightening and informative, and I really appreciate your time. And congratulations again on number one for the fourth year in a row.
Thank you, Jason. Love talking to you. Appreciate the conversation.
Hi, everybody. We hope you liked that video. Be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons to make sure that you see more of Entrepreneur in your feed.